Back now with a Consumer Confidential for anybody in the job market or even thinking about a career change.
Here with an exclusive look at LinkedIn's most in-demand skills for 2024. One of our favorites, the editor-in-chief of LinkedIn, Dan Roth. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
So before we get into the list, let's talk about just this concept of skills now being more sought after than a degree or even education in general. What do we suppose is behind the shift?
Yeah, I mean, skills are like the currency of the workforce today. It is how people think about how to grow their careers. Is you have to think about it in terms of the skills you have and the skills that you want to acquire. So what's driving this change? The skills that are required to do a job are changing fast. So over the last 8 years, the skills required to do any particular job, let's say like a marketing manager, have changed by about 25%. By 2030, we expect that to change by 65%.
Ooh.
That means you're doing a completely different job than the one you were hired for, or doing it in a different way. And what's driving a lot of this is AI. It is changing how we work or how we expect to work.
Of course.
But what's cool about this list that we're going to get into is that a lot of the skills that are necessary aren't tech skills. They are the more human skills that enable us to work with technology.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what's the number one skill? That
Sure.
you need?
Number one is communication. So basically how we talk to each other, how we discuss problems. And this is a essential skill, whether you are the CEO or entry level. We see this being in demand in every industry, every role.
Totally.
And it's a lot to do with, in this hybrid environment, being able to work through problems, build relationships, come up with strategy, whether you're in a Google Doc or on Teams or in a Zoom or in a room where there's like half the people are there and half aren't. You have to be able to communicate incredibly effectively.
Yeah.
That was hard in the old world. It's even harder today.
And I feel like it's one of those ones that differentiates us from AI, right? If you can communicate like a human with your employees.
Yeah.
Tell us about the rest of the list and any themes you're seeing emerging.
Sure. So kind of three big themes emerge here. Number one is being able to find customers and win over customers. Big one, so you can see customer service. The number 8 is any kind of sales skills. Those are really in demand. Second one is this idea of being able to help teams work more efficiently. So leadership skills, anything around management or product management. And the last one is analytical skills, being able to look at data and be able to understand the signal through the noise, and then to be able to help communicate, goes back to communication, help explain why this is super important.
You also identified something called top skill of the moment. What is that?
Yeah, so one of the things we look at is the fastest growing skill.
Okay.
And this idea of adaptability stood out, just jumped out, and you hear it constantly. When I was on here recently talking about the top startups, this is the one that came up with every single startup, which is they are hiring people who can do not the job they were hired for, but the job that is required of them in the moment. That means being adaptable. That means not saying, well, I'm really good at this, I'm going to keep doing this. It's like your employer says, no, I need you to do Y, and you have to be able to do Y and roll up your sleeve and go do the work. So adaptability is the skill of the moment.
So building on that, Dan, how do you do that? I mean, you've got one set of skills, and now you see that maybe you need another. How do you go about learning that?
Yeah, it is like easier than ever to be able to pick up skills. There are courses everywhere. You can go on YouTube, Snapchat, LinkedIn Learning, like develop these skills. But I think even better, a better way to do this is to learn from people in the office. So raise your hand, offer to do jobs, stretch yourself, get into places that you're not comfortable, and be next to people who know those skills and then try to learn the skills from them. That is the best way to pick up skills and to demonstrate that you've actually learned them.
You also just made quite the argument for getting back into the workplace as well. 'Cause
absolutely.
It's hard to do a lot of that stuff virtually.
It is so true. Be around. Like, you want that serendipity of hearing someone doing something and saying, like, hey, can you teach me how to do that? That's really interesting. I want to learn it. That's how you develop those skills.
And hard to do from home, for sure.
It is.
Absolutely.
Dan, thank you. We always learn something when you're here.
Good to see you. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.